When Bob Woodward had first previously reported the fragile mental state of a squatter that is on his way out of office, it was a national sensation. Um, his and Carl Bernstein's depiction of a drunk, unhinged Richard Nixon back in 1976, the final days shocked the country in an age of three television networks and a zero. And back then they didn't have any what they call social media sites. But in Woodward's new book, Peril, which is co-authored with fellow Washington Post reporter Robert Costa, it's no surprise that Trump is depicted as office fucking rocker. But that's been reported in detail almost every day for years, and it's regularly demonstrated by the former squatter's own statements and his fucking pathetic behavior. There are some novel details in the new book. While it is previously reported that Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, thought that Trump preached the gospel of the Fuhrer, that Milley, that Milley had sought to reassure his Chinese counterpart that Trump was not planning to launch a sudden military strike against the People's Republic of China was new, but the top U.S. general reportedly even went so far as to urge cancellation of military exercises that he feared would fuel the Chinese paranoia in the aftermath of the January 6th attack on the Capitol. And the details, as originally exerted, fueled a media furor around Milley by implying that he had gone rogue. The irony, of course, was that Trump never contemplated bombing China. Instead, he was focused on other issues like his displeasure with the design of the USS Gerald Ford aircraft carrier. In particular, according to Peril, Trump found the placement of the Flight Command Center on the carrier's deck to be aesthetically displeasing, and he would rail against it to military officials. Yet, while Trump was not interested in starting World War III, I think he was, but he was actively trying to overturn the elections of the result of the 2020 election. There are a few new details in Peril on the games that those around Trump played as they tried to manage him in the aftermath of the election, like how Secretary of State Mike Pompeo got on the phone with Milley one evening to express the need for the two to act in concert to protect the country. We've got to stand shoulder to shoulder, he told the general. We're the last of the Mohicans. The next day, Pompeo was smirking to reporters about a smooth transition to a second Trump administration. Mitch McConnell reportedly went so far as to set up a back channel to communicate with Joe Biden after the election was over, to avoid a direct phone call that would raise Trump's ire. Throughout, Trump was an object of scorn from many in his orbit. Woodward and Costa report that Milley thought that the squatter was experiencing mental decline. Well, we already knew that for years. Attorney General William Barr compared him to a deranged character from Dr. Strangelove, and McConnell was fond of telling senators a story that ended with the punchline of former Secretary of State Rex Tillerson calling Trump a fucking moron, because that's true, that's what he is. Trump only occupies half the book, though. The other half is a series of episodes from Joe Biden's presidential campaign and a chronicle of Biden's first days in the White House. It is far more what they call conventional. It's far more of a conventional tale than that of Trump's final days. There are the inside the room details that one comes to expect from Woodward's overview. That includes mistakes that Biden has made during his campaign, like when he alienated Delaware Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester by taking her support for granted, a mistake that was quickly remedied. Or how Biden almost forgot to pledge to put a black woman on the Supreme Court during the presidential debate before the South Carolina primary. One of the commitments that he had made to seal the crucial endorsement of Congressman Jim Claiborne, who apparently had to slip backstage to remind Biden of it during a commercial break. Woodward and Costa also report that Biden believed that President Obama got rolled into sending more troops into Afghanistan in 2010 by a cabal that included both the top military brass and then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. And the book Peril confirms that the new president's distaste for living in the White House, which he has compared to a tomb. The book additionally reconstructs in painstaking detail the Biden administration's negotiations with Joe Manchin, who's a closet Republican. He's a closet Republican that earned the senator's support for the American Rescue Plan, the $1.9 trillion spending bill that was passed in March. But the book's two halves don't quite fit together. The transition from Trump to Biden is jarring. The squatter Trump regularly live tweeted during television shows, and the other is occasionally grumpy in private about morning Joe panels. Trump's dysfunction is too well known to be shocking at this point, and it makes the reporting Biden seemed banal. In 2018, an internet jokester tweeted a fake book excerpt about Trump's alleged love for the Gorilla Channel, a makeshift television channel that was created by aides that only aired videos of apes fighting, and many people believed the excerpt and story were real, and that Trump might be obsessed with watching gorillas fight don't seem that far-fetched compared to what was appearing on the front page of the New York Times or Washington Post most days anyway. Then again, the idea of a squatter egging on a mob to lay siege to the U.S. Capitol should have been as absurd as the idea of one spending 17 hours a day watching videos of gorillas slapping each other off. It is what makes any behind-the-scenes look at Trump's White House so ultimately unsatisfying. But there are ample newly reported details in Woodward and Costa's book. But the most shocking events during Trump's last days in office didn't happen in closed-door meetings or in private conversations. They were broadcast live on fucking cable television. But after it all, it becomes hard to reveal that the emperor has no clothes when he spent half a decade tweeting that he's fucking fully naked. Kind of an unusual thing. But if you like the video, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King, and also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out, and thanks for listening.